I was tagged by Marissa Thilman on the Girl Scout cookies tag, which is a book tag where you like read there's cookies and they ask questions about books, and you kind of answer those questions. First of all, thank you very much for tagging me. It's very kind of you. Marissa has a wonderful channel. You should absolutely go check it out. She does some great stuff. Really does. Second of all, Girl Scout cookies. The money that you put towards those, they do a lot of really wonderful stuff with that money, and a lot of like really great charitable stuff. So you can buy those cookies, although they are expensive and the packages are little. The help they give is big. So number one, Trefoils. Name a classic book that you love. A classic book that I love? An excellent question, Mr. Trefoil. Or should I say, or is it Ms. Trefoil? I'm not sure. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I actually kind of love this book. I debated on a couple different ones, but I picked this one because I've been thinking about it a lot lately, about how it's such a great book that just holds up. You know, of those three classic Gothic novels, Frankenstein, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and Dracula, I think that Frankenstein holds up the best. I think Frankenstein still has something really interesting to say all this time later, and it predates the other two. Just a really great novel. I actually kind of want to reread it and talk about it again. I did a thing a long time ago where I tried to, I read a little bit of the book every day and talked about it, and it was fun to do that. It definitely got me out of my comfort zone and got me to do stuff. But I can't imagine anybody would ever want to go back and watch those things. They're just, I wouldn't watch them, and I made them. So maybe I'll read this book again at some point and talk about it as a singular video. It seems like a great idea. We'll see when that happens, or if that happens. But I really do love the book. Shelley does so many cool things. Also, like the kind of the very first science fiction book, right? Number two, lemon ups, and I am somebody who absolutely loves lemon stuff. I love lemon flavored stuff a lot. Easter wasn't that long ago, and like a few years ago, well, it's been a while now. They made these like lemon chocolate rabbits or something, and I guess they didn't sell well. My wife went to the store and they had all these on the clearance, and she's like, "You want some?" And she bought them. I said, "Okay." She wanted, and I ate it. I told her, I said, "Hey, listen, if you go to the store tomorrow, just buy all of them that you can find." And she's like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Yes, all of them, every one you can find. I mean, especially if they're just buy them." And she did. I think she got me 6. They weren't small. I ate them. Ooh. I loved it. Anyways, sorry, Lemon, a book that you find inspiring. Suzuki's Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. I've had this book for a very long time. Just a great book. It's Suzuki is one of the couple guys who brought Zen Buddhism over into America. And there's the man himself in the back. Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind is all about having that beginner's mind approach to things, to not let your preconceived notions influence your behavior or your actions, so you can sort of accept and welcome things happening to you without a bias, without getting into it, without trying to make this a book review about it. It does a wonderful job of explaining that mindset and how that mindset is very helpful to keep us balanced in our lives and sort of keep our emotions and sort of reactions to things and just the things in daily life from like getting away from us and sort of like pulling us in all these different directions, and to sort of have this stillness about yourself that you can really weather these difficult times and also the good times, to not get carried away. It does a great job of very simply and plainly explaining those mindsets in a very profound and inspiring way. A way that definitely influenced me and tried to influences my my life philosophy, I guess you'd say. So, just love the book and can't recommend it highly enough. Maybe not for everybody. Again, you don't have to be a Buddhist to use the teachings or the philosophies of Zen. And from there, S'mores, a comforting book. Now, this one was difficult, and I kind of picked a book and put a couple books back. Ultimately, I kind of thought to myself, well, what do I actually like to read if I just want to be, like, just chill and just be comfortable with, like, I just want to read something that's, like, just puts you in that zone. And honestly, I was a little surprised at my own answer when I thought about it, is that it's gothic, like, ghost stories and, like, horror stories. That's what I like. That's what I do, like stories like M.R. James or Algernon Blackwood. Obviously, Lovecraft kind of fits into that to some extent as well. Although I think that I like a lot of the stuff that comes before or at the same time as Lovecraft, because everything that comes kind of after Lovecraft kind of got a little more established. The landscape changes. That's a little unfair because I just mentioned 2 books or like a whole genre of writing. So let's instead say a book that I read that I really enjoyed. That's a great example of this sort of thing. That is just bonkers, and I just loved the book, which is Horace Walpole's The Castle of Otranto. Yes. Such a great book. A very early Gothic novel. I don't remember when it was written. Sorry. I should have known that, but I don't. I just love it. It's just crazy, and it's got like just these twists and turns and just zaniness, and I just absolutely love that story. I don't know if it's the perfect Gothic horror story or Gothic like ghost type story. It's not exactly that, but it kind of is. And I just love that stuff. I just find that set of readings is so relaxing and so enjoyable. I don't know what it is about that style of writing, that era of writing, that sort of Gothic fiction, right up to just probably a little past Lovecraft. It wasn't Lovecraft didn't really get that stuff didn't really change until I feel like a little bit later. But I just love that era of fiction. I just never seem to really get enough of it. And by the way, if you're interested in it, I will tell you right now. Since I've never done it before, and I really should, I really need to make a whole video about it. But Horror Babble is a channel on YouTube. And they do like basically audiobook quality readings of all kinds of classic Gothic fiction. It's an amazing resource, absolutely amazing resource that is free, and there is so much good stuff. I mean, M.R. James is on there, Blackwood is on there, William Hope Hodgson is on there, Lovecraft is on there. If you're interested in any of that stuff, you can literally just go over there, and it's just like there's probably more than you would ever be able to listen to. It's just so much great stuff there, and also original stuff. They're always doing things. Sorry, little commercial for another channel. Who doesn't really need me helping them, I'm sure. Anyhow. But Gothic fiction, especially The Castle on Otranto, is just wonderful. If you want to do an audiobook for that, by the way, Audible has a version read by Tony J. Tony J did voice work for I think he did like the Legacy of Kain series. He did like some cartoons. I think that he's the voice in The Hunchback of Notre Dame. I think he's the bad guy in the Disney animated movie. If that's probably the most accessible thing. But he did some other stuff. He's done other animated stuff and other voices of everything. Absolutely amazing voice, and his voice paired with that story is just pitch perfect. Just fucking great. My second favorite audiobook. The first one is coming. All right, next we have Adventurefuls, which I didn't know was a thing. I guess I don't buy Girl Scout cookies very often, so I don't know the thing. But Adventurefuls, an adventurous book. Now this book, honestly, this book could have taken almost every single one of these slots for me. I could have put it in all but maybe 1 or 2 of these slots. Yeah, maybe there's only like 1 slot that this book I could not have put this in. And that is Alexandre Dumas's The Three Musketeers. Yes, this is a movie tie-in book. Oh well, whatever. It's what I got handy. I absolutely love The Three Musketeers. It's just such an amazing novel. It has everything. Not only is it classic fiction, not only is it a classic work of fiction, but it has wonderful adventure in it and excitement and just great characters, and there's romance and mystery and just everything you could want. Everything you could want, that book has. I know some people would probably say that they like his The Count of Monte Cristo better, and I would probably say yes, The Count of Monte Cristo is, as a novel, probably a slightly better novel. It probably has a better narrative, a better story that it's trying to tell. I feel that the Count of Monte Cristo can be a little too somber at points, which is unfortunate, whereas The Three Musketeers is a lot more fun and adventurous. It follows the young D'Artagnan as he's on his way to Paris to become a musketeer, and within like 5 minutes of getting in Paris, he's already like engaged in 3 duels to the death with the titular Three Musketeers, Athos, Aramis and Porthos, Athos, Porthos, and Aramis. Sorry, I don't know why Porthos' name didn't want to come to me. And each one of those characters, each one of the musketeers has a very distinct personality. Athos is the aristocratic, sort of very stoic and quiet gentleman. Porthos is a man of almost the exact opposite. He's very emotional, very swingy. Great passions and excitement and exuberance and craziness, and then and high levels of depression and sadness when something doesn't go right or something is going on. So very emotionally swinging, and also a very physically vibrant and crazy sort of a physical person. Whereas Athos is a very mental person, and then you have Aramis, who's all about emotion. He is the a lover, not a fighter. Always sort of making romantic rendezvous with women, many a time married, and writing poetry and everything like that. Their adventures and their sort of like fighting to stop the cardinal from doing things to the king or the queen is just great. It's just wonderful. And the series was originally, the book was originally written as a series. It's a periodical. So sometimes I think that's why the narrative sometimes kind of dips and falls and everything. One of my absolute favorite writers, one of my absolute favorite books, I had to resist putting Musashi in this list, really, because I feel like Musashi and the Three Musketeers are like almost like neck and neck. They're almost like very similar books in a way. I think if you like one, you'd like the other. So if you've not read Musashi, I did a thing on it recently. I absolutely would recommend it if you've read Three Musketeers. And if you've read Musashi, then you should read the other one. If you read one, you should read the other. They're both great. If you like one, you'll probably like the other. Three Musketeers. Absolutely love it. Samoas. Name a book that blends two or more genres. I thought about this for a while, and I think probably my favorite book that does this is Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse-Five. Slaughterhouse-Five is science fiction and comedy. Vonnegut usually sort of pushed back against people who call him a science fiction writer. But if you read him just as fiction, you can absolutely see heavy science fiction elements used to tell his story a certain way. And Slaughterhouse-Five is no different. We have the idea of time travel itself, or what is time, so to speak, and also sort of like a lesson in history about the firebombing of Dresden, of which Vonnegut was literally there as a German prisoner, I believe. Just a wonderful book. If you decide to read Slaughterhouse-Five, which is, I guess I just said it, but again, just an amazing book. Such a great book. I highly, highly, especially if you like audiobooks, recommend that you find Ethan Hawke's reading of this. It's probably about 20 or more years old now, so it's a little harder to find. I think Audible's got James Franco reading it, which I don't know how good that is. Seems like a strange choice, but maybe it's great. But if you can find Ethan Hawke, then absolutely get his reading. It was just amazing. I don't know where you'd have to go to find it. I imagine it's still out there. I really, really enjoy Kurt Vonnegut's writing. This book is such a great book. Definitely not what you expect going in. It does a lot of things that are just so strange, and also just such a memorable book. So just love it. I love all Vonnegut stuff. I'm a huge fan of Kurt Vonnegut. I guess I haven't really talked about him very much, but I really, really enjoy Vonnegut's writing, and also his life philosophy. He said that he thought of Jesus as like a philosopher, and that he thought that he had a lot of really great lessons that we should all follow, whether you wanted to consider him to be a religious figure or not, didn't matter. You could just look at him as a philosopher, and I really liked and appreciated that point of view. Those messages are just life messages. So I really liked that about Vonnegut. I really liked a lot of things about Vonnegut. Vonnegut also said something about what should I do with you? So you should do something in your own community. He says, quit trying to go to all these other places. Do things with the place where you live. Do good things for people where you live. And I also really love that philosophy too, to do things with the people that you interact with and the area that you're in is I think a good philosophy in a sense, to raise up the people around you. Wow, I took that way too far. Thin Mints. All-time favorite. Okay, all-time favorite. I don't know why I brought all these over here, but I'm just going to show one. My all-time favorite book is Gene Wolfe's Book of New Sun series, and this is the first book. Shadow of the Torturer, which admittedly seems very like edgelord-ish, and even the cover makes it seem like that. I don't think the book really reads that way. I don't think that's really the intention of the book. I don't think that's what it's trying to do at all. It's a it's a science fiction book, although a lot of times people say it's fantasy. It's probably more accurately science fantasy. It's presented as though it's a fantasy-ish world, but you can tell that it's the things that go on are not fantasy. It's science fiction underlying it. It's so far in the future that the sort of understanding of the science behind some of the things and the way and the reason that they happen just isn't there anymore. People just don't really know how this stuff works. Love Gene Wolfe as a writer. Definitely somebody who will make you want to and require you in a sense to reread the book, because sometimes information that you are lacking in a certain part of the book will only come up much later. Sometime in another book in the series. I read this series for the first time when I was in high school, I think, and I've read it a few times since then. I want to read it again and talk about it again. It's definitely something I want to do. I just love it. I mean, I also really love a lot of the other books I already mentioned, right? All these books are pretty much favorites of mine. Books I really, really enjoy. And like I said, Three Musketeers could have fitted almost all these slots except for. Oh, I missed one. I skipped around. I'm sorry. Do-si Dos. Books that you love that others don't, or books that you don't love that others do. This one I took a little bit of time with, and I kind of didn't want to talk about a book poorly. I didn't really want that. I wanted to talk about a book that I like that I felt that others didn't, and I think that's where I want to stay. But I will kind of mention something. So the one that I want to bring up that I like, that in part I decided to read this because I had so much negative energy about it, and then I ended up absolutely loving it, is Marlon James's Black Leopard Red Wolf. Such a great fantasy novel, sort of a fantasy Africa sort of book, not a light subject matter book, right? There's definitely some pretty ugly and harsh things that are dealt with in this book. Absolutely. Really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. A lot of people didn't like this book because of the writing style, because it's narrated. The narrator, is the character, is the main character, right? He's narrating, is the first person narrator. Why did it take so long to say that? And his manner of speech is a very clipped manner. He doesn't use articles, I think, a lot of times in a speech. So the and a aren't in there, and they're just sort of a very clipped way of speaking. I think that some people had a hard time parsing that. And since I did the audiobook, I think it helped because hearing it, I could see what was being said, whereas if I read it, it might have given me pause. But I think after a little while, too, it just sort of faded away, and I just sort of enjoyed it. Really just a wonderful book. I really liked it. I was super excited about the sequel, and I read the sequel last year, and this would be the flip side of that. This is a book that a lot of people liked, and I didn't. I did not like the sequel. I didn't. I really tried to. I put a lot of thought and effort into the sequel about why I didn't like it, and ultimately I just think that it didn't really know what it wanted to do, and the things that it tried to do didn't endear me to it. And the last is Tagalongs, and you're supposed to tag another person to do this challenge. Well, I'm going to tag Curtis from Deep in the Reeds, because we have a lot of conversations as well. And I think to go ahead and do this video. And then I'm going to also say that, like, I don't know that I know enough other booktube channels to really, or well enough at least, certainly, to bring them into this and sort of say, hey, to even mention them here and expect them to even see it or to do anything. So that leads me to, if you have a channel where you talk about books and you're interested in this, let me know. And I'm inviting you to be tagged by the video and let's have a conversation about it. I don't know. I need to, I guess it shouldn't be too surprising in a room like this that I have introverted tendencies, right? I tend to be a very insular person sometimes. But no, I'd totally be interested in having a conversation with somebody and saying, hey, come out, check out my stuff. I'm going to do a thing. And absolutely I will. So if you've got a channel like that, you're interested in doing this, absolutely. Let's do it. Let's do this. Let's have a chat. I love the idea. I absolutely do. That's it. Thanks very much. If you like Girl Scout cookies and books, you can subscribe. I can't promise that there'll be any cookies on here, but there'll definitely be books. So, in that vein, that's it. Thank you again to Marissa. Her channel is wonderful. Once again, please go check it out. My name is Virgil, and this is Literally Books. That's all. Bye.